Welcome to the video. This video tutorial, I don't have the album to show you, but it's one that I made, so I'll be able to go through this album. Excuse me. It's the Night Before Christmas mini album that some of you have seen on my YouTube. There was not a video, or there was not a tutorial. There's a walkthrough. So it was the Graphic 45, the Night Before Christmas mini album. And I've gotten a lot of requests to remake it. Well, I will be remaking it, but it's not going to be 6x6 like in the album. It's going to be 8x8. We're going to make it a little bit larger. And there's a couple of different things with the album. And I have the hiccups. I apologize. I will be making this the 8-page or 6 pages. I'm going to use red because I will be decorating this with the new with the new Authentique Retro Christmas collection. After we make the album, I will be going through and matting the pages and doing those with you. And one thing, you're going to see a lot of stopping and starting, and I'll come back. I won't leave it running, but I have to refer to the YouTube video. I don't have the album. It was one that was sold. And so I thought I'd go ahead and get it done. Now, a couple of different things you're going to see me doing. The pocket pages. We're going to start out with a pocket page, but we're not going to end with them. That was another request I had. I've had requests on how do I make those pages where there's no pockets, because it does. When you make a larger 8x8 or 6 pages and you want to do front and back cover, it takes a lot more paper. And then when you're putting in your mats, again, you're adding a lot of paper. So we're going to be starting out that way, but I'm going to show you how I close mine when I don't want a pocket. So I won't be having pockets. And I'm going to change a few pages. I'll do the basic page that you'll see in the video walkthrough, but then I'm going to add the inside pockets so that at least you have those bigger photo mats. And as you know from most of my videos, I am a die-hard score tape user. Love score tape, believe in it. But one of my design team, actually two, Terry made a video, and then Cheryl, she told me that she uses a lot of score tape, but for her covers, she uses the art glitter glue. And I'll tell you what, but they only use it on their photo mats. I thought, well, if it works so great on photo mats, I need to try this. Tried it on my last album that I just did a video on, my Fresh Picked album. Used it. I am in love with this. I have it now in the store. I do sell it with the tips, so you don't have to buy the tips separate, and it's free shipping. This 2-ounce bottle I can do 4 albums with. I've already done the huge 9x10 album. I did another 6x6, and I'm doing my 8x8, so I'm on my 3rd album. And I still won't use it completely on my page mattings. I'll still use my score tape. And it doesn't wrinkle. You're going to see me using, I'm trying it out on the hinges, so I'm doing a few tryouts with it. It is water-based, but it's a lighter water-based, and it's permanent. So it's fantastic. It's made for glitter or paper. You can use it for a lot of different things. So let's get started. I've already done my first 4 pages. And now I'll do these 2 with you. So I've already cut my pages at 9 inches long by 8 inches wide. You're going to score 1/2 inch here and 1/2 inch here on your scoreboard. So I'll do these 2 on camera. I didn't think you wanted to go through all 6 pages. Then what we want to do is, on this outer edge, we're still going to go ahead and miter these corners. And because I'm using the red, sometimes when I have moisture, I just touched my water jug. You'll see it, but it dries off. I have the red and the green for Christmas in. And then we're getting in tomorrow the brand new, the first of the year, Authentique's Retro Christmas. So that's what I'll be doing my album with. Now, the one thing with glitter glue, you don't have a lot of time, so I can't do both hinges, and I don't draw my line straight, but you can even write with this tip. It's very fine. Comes with the stainless steel pin, but it dries almost instantly. You put it down, you're not going to get it back up. You don't really have a lot of time to reposition. You've got a little, but not much. And like I said, the tip comes with the felt stainless steel needle or pen. You will need it, but you still have to somewhat position it before you really put it down. And one reason I don't like glue, I'm messy with glue, but because of this fine tip on it, and it's quick drying. See, there's no time for mess. I'm loving this glue. Okay, so my second one, I've cut the 9 by 8, and I've scored each end at 1/2 of an inch. Another reason that I want to go ahead and show you how I close up my pages. I know a lot of crafters will just take the 2 sheets and put them together. I still cannot seem to get that straight, so I still make mine this way. And 2, 3, 4, 5. I just need to quickly cut a top sheet. Oh, and I'm using the linen, the Cartabella. It's just the linen, and it's 8.5 by 11 because it is less waste. I still use the 12 by 12 for some things, but I'm loving this 8.5 by 11. Let me see how fine you can get it on there. And I really feel that this is a breakthrough for me to find a glue that I like. I have worked, in fact, one of our Craftology boxes has a glue that we were formulating. My problem is with these manufacturers, you can formulate the glue. It's one thing that's important with paper is you have less water, but you have to get your own bottles. And then comes not only a huge expense, but trying to find the right bottles. So I was really happy to find the glitter glue. Now you will probably want to have a wet wipe close by. Wet wipes are great, or a wet paper towel. So you're going to want to keep that clean. So in between using it, you'll just go ahead with the pin that came, stick it back in. If you lose this or find, it will break off, I just use my stainless steel quilting pins. So you'll just want to stick that in there. So we have our 6 pages. And now one thing that's going to be important, the end that we did not miter, we want to make sure that goes on the hinge. And also on my hinges, I will not be gluing I won't be gluing, I still will use my squirt tape. Now I've got a little bit of an extra sticking out, so I'm just going to go back through. I'm loving how quick that was. And like I said, I just want to make sure my miters are going the right way. Okay, I'll get my other pieces cut and I shall return. For the first page, you will want to cut a 6 by 8 inch. I'm going to cardstock. Then I have a 5.5 by 5.5 for the pocket. Then I have a 7 by 5.5, and then on your scoreboard, you want to put your paper in and make sure you score it 1/2 inch. And your next one here on the 6-inch side, you're going to score it down at 1/2 inch. And we're going to start with our 8 by 6 inch piece. I always like to push against that score mark. And like I said, this is going to be my experiment album. So I am going to use the glue. And again, I want to make sure my mitered corners are going to be what would have been the open end, because I like my squared off down here. We want to be able to get glue underneath there so that it'll close right up. Now I went ahead with my burnishing of the fold here. Now it's going to go right on that edge, so I want to check it for my top and bottom. Sometimes I cut them down just about 1/16 of an inch. I don't like any overhang. And I am going to miter these corners because it's the full size of the page, and I want to be able to cover that with my pattern paper. Now when cutting this, we have the pocket on the inside, so we don't even miss a pull-out pocket. I'm still holding it up until I'm making sure it's down, just like I would if it was score tape. So like I said, once you put it down with this art glitter glue, you don't have really any playtime. I think that's one reason I like it. Then I don't worry about pages moving. Now, I did use the magnets, I believe, on every page, and I like to use my large basic gray magnets because we're going to be going through quite a few thicknesses, and when you're going through a lot of thicknesses, if you use the smaller ones, you're going to want to use more. Now this is going to go right up against our hinged side. I do turn mine sideways, it's easier for me to work, and I'm not worried about mitering the corners because it's not sitting on the end. Like I said, I can already feel that glue grab. There's no dry time. And one thing, when glue doesn't dry quickly, I tend to mess my pages up, and I think that's why I really like how this dries so quickly. But like I said, it does dry quickly, as you can see. I got a little too much, but you won't even see that under pattern paper. Now for our magnets, I'm going to wait until we put it on that pocket. And one thing that I'm going to do, because it's an inside of a flat pocket, like I said, I've noticed my design team members doing this, and I like it. I'm not doing the gussets, and it does take a little space away from the size of your tag, but it takes away the bulkiness, and when you're doing an inside flaps. And so I really liked that, but I am still now going to use my score tape for my inside pockets. And I'm just going to take score tape. I'm going to use actually score tape and glue. So I'm taking the score tape around these 3 edges. And the reason is, a pocket you're going to have a little more tugging and pulling on. Then I'm going to go ahead and remove the score tape because I'm going to put a bead of glue on the top edge. This was a trick that I picked up from the New Lady 1949, and it really does stop your tags from becoming stuck when you do pockets this way. So So I just went along that edge on the inside. And again, I'm just going to hold it just as if it was all score tape. And just line up, because now you've got double grip. You know, I want to make sure it's where I want it, because it's not coming up. Then I will have plenty of pieces. Let's see. Actually, I'll be able to go bigger than that even. So see, it'll go in with no getting stuck when we go back and make our tags. So now this will also help with placement of the magnet. So I'm going to make sure the magnet is not somewhere, you know, near the edge of my pocket. And we need to just check. Okay. Kind of get a eyeball. I'm just going to pick that up because now it's going to go on the outs. Whoops. Oh, we've got, I guess the sides, they didn't put the tape on the right side of that one. That's really weird. Let's try a positive. There we go. I'll have to take the adhesive off, put it on the other side. So I want it now, excuse me, to hit right there. So that way you only have to use 2 magnets with the large ones. So there is page 1, and we will now do the back of page 1. For the back of page 1, we have a couple of parts. So you're going to want to cut a piece of cardstock 4 1/4 by 6 1/4. Then we're going to cut another one at 6 1/4 by 4 3/4. Now this is going to be in the middle of the page basically, and it's a pocket, but we're going to do, I'm going to show you this part and then you can stop. But I'm going to do a little add-on because this is a bigger album. So we're going to actually score this now in the back. We're going to add our adhesive. I cannot draw straight lines. We're just going to add our 4 1/4 by 6 1/4 on top. Now, the purpose of this little pocket here on the other album was, it is a pull down pocket, so it's going to pull down this way, and then we have a pocket, so it kind of sits in the middle of our page. So I'm going to show you the little latch. You could either stop right here, and you do need to mat your page with the paper. I won't have the paper till tomorrow, so this is one reason I'm not adhering it down yet, because I do need to put my pattern paper down. And then what we're going to do, just like we made our pocket on the first page, we're going to add score tape, then glue, and you're going to adhere it down where you want. It will have a magnet here, and now this becomes a pocket. But because we're working now with a much larger, that album was, I believe, 6 1/4 or 6 1/4. It is much smaller. I want now to have another pocket on here. So and it is going to be one that is going to be gusseted. So Our page is 8 by 8, and I'm going to cut a piece of cardstock now that is going to be 9, because we want to score it on the sides, and we're not going to score it on the bottom. That's going to take away some of the bulk. So we're gonna make it 9 by 6. So now we're going to have, I'm going to have, and if you want to do it this step, a larger pocket now that will sit there. This is actually going to sit here as another pocket and fold down, because we're not going to have that side pocket, but we don't do anything with that till after we put it on the hinge, because we still want to be able to get our hands through there. It just is easier. Okay, now on our 9-inch side, we're going to score half. I turn mine around and score it at half. One thing I want to give you a tip. I used to score half and then half. I just thought, you know, it's a pain to get so close. And then I found out a lot of times my pockets were off and they were crooked and I didn't know why. Well, it wasn't my scoring. It was because I hadn't exactly cut my paper, maybe at 9. It was just like a little tiny bit off. And so that 1/2-inch scoring on this edge actually put me off. So I started making sure I turn it. Now another thing with doing the pocket this way, we're still going to get the convenience of room because of the gusset, but by not doing one at the bottom, we're going to take away some of the bulk that you see at the bottom of your albums that makes your pages so heavy, especially when you're putting 2 and 3 layers down. So let me make sure I'm going the right way so I don't have an upside down pocket. I'm going to turn it over and I'm going to put this on here, make sure it's a good fit. Now as you can see, you're going to be able to get a nice big photo mat in there, which is what you want for Christmas. Now what we're going to do, we're only still going to do one side. Like I said, this dries pretty fast, so I don't want to do both sides yet. I'm going to put that up to the edge. Now on this one I didn't worry about my score tape because we're doing the gusset. Now I'm going to go ahead now, seal my bottom edge. And if you're using the art glue, you're going to work a little faster. Match my edges. I liked doing it this way. Like I said, I really watched Terry when she did the tutorial for Country Craft Creations for the Enchanted Evening album by Graphic 45. I learned some techniques. I was like, wow. Thank you for sharing, Terry. So that is one of them. And you will still find you will have plenty of room, as you can see. But now I had trouble with my tags sticking down there in those gussets. I hated it. Now there is no sticking. And you don't have to pull the page out to get it over the top. I've tried the tape. I've tried everything. Love this method. And you know, I've always known it's there, but I was always a skeptic, like, oh, that's not going to work. Oh, yes, it works, and it works great. Okay. Now, one thing you might notice, if it's off a little bit, it's not going to matter because it's going to cover well. But again, I can't put this down until I put my pattern paper on, but I'm going to prepare it. Otherwise, I know me. I'm going to go stick the whole thing down and lose my pocket. Score tape. And if you have the 1/8 of an inch, it works great. So I'm just going to take it this way. And I want to show you something. You can do this two ways. You can turn this into a pocket with the fold down, or you can turn it into more of a belly band where it comes, your tag will come through. So if you don't want a pocket per se, leave the bottom open, adhere it down, and then you've got more of a belly band. I'm going with the pocket. We won't take anything off because I can't quite put it on yet. But we do want to go ahead and make our, I have a latch that comes over the top. And for this latch, it's 3.5 inches long. And I'm just using one of the scrap pieces of paper from cutting my pages. So it's 2.5 wide and 3.5 long. On the 3.5 inch side, I'm going to score it at 1/2 inch. And I'm going to use my corner chopper give it more of that tag look. Oh, I forgot. See something. I don't want it quite that long. I'm going to cut it off to 3. I'm looking at the picture here. I have paused on YouTube and it's not quite that long. So I cut it down to 3. Now, I'm going to actually be putting this on the inside because we have a pocket going in there and we really don't want to disturb that. I am going to trim mine down. Even though it won't really matter, it's going to bug me. Okay, so I'm just going to put it up here, find my corner, my middle. It's about 3 1/8. And 1 1/4. I'm going to match my middles. And looks like we are going to want to go ahead and just do another score and kind of make that 1/4 inch or 1/8 of an inch, sorry, 1/8 of an inch gusset. And because I marked that, I'm going to need to erase it. There we go. So you do want that 1/8 of an inch gusset. So just put it back on your scoreboard. Then it will close over there a lot nicer. For this one, I will just use my small magnets because we're not going through huge pages. And I don't know, a lot of you may have heard Basic Gray is, the paper division is no more. But I live by the owner, so I still am able to get magnets. He's not selling them. He sells them himself at a very high price at shows, but he's not selling it to any other place that he told me. So I do have them in the store at Country Craft Creations. And I do keep them in stock, so there is our awesome little flap. And after I mat my page, it's going to go right in the middle. So now not only do I have my fold down, I have a pocket here, and then I have a pocket there. And I'm just going to set this little guy inside there so that I remember exactly where it goes. Okay, for the front of page 2, we have a diagonal belly band, and we're going to turn the page into actually a pocket. So you're going to cut a 4.5 by 8. Let me check that on my, let me cut it down just a little bit. Okay, 4.5 by 8. I cut it about a 1/16 of an inch shorter. Now for my belly band, I cut it 9 inches by 2.5 inches. Now I didn't score. I'm going to show you. Sometimes you're going to have to use an unorthodox way because you want a different shape. And I know you can also use, I've used my envelope thing to do these fancy scores, but sometimes it's just easier, it really is, to just go like this. So find out how you want it. So I have this square belly band, but I want a diagonal. And so I'm actually just going to lay it on there, and I'm going to fold it. Okay, then I'm going to fold it again. Then I'm going to remove it from my page. It's going to look like this. Let me show you. See, because we want it at that angle, but we want it to fit our page. And I'm just going to crease it so it looks nice and smooth. Now I did have to take this bottom one and move it up just a hair. You can also do this on your cardstock. So on your page that you're going to mat with, you can do it and bend it over and then put your matting down. Or you can do it this way, and then you're just going to put it on the page so it's at the angle that you like. And you are going to want to cut these corners because it hangs over a little bit, even though we will eventually cover it with paper. Okay, we're going to decide where we want it. Now, in my other book, I didn't put it down till after. Good thing I didn't put this one down. I didn't put it down till after we made this into our pocket page. So now on the 4.5 inch side, we're going to score this at 1/2 inch. And you're just going to stick that down in there right now for a fit. We're going to miter those corners. Make sure it's not going to be too tight. I knew I had one. I cut a little bit short, so I'm just going to grab a different page. You do want it to be one that's pretty even. Go ahead and miter your corners. Now when we attach this, this is actually going to attach on the opposite side. Now you can also, let me show you, if you don't want it inside, you could attach it to the back side of the page. I like to just put mine on the inside. Like that. Now, I'm going to be cutting off those corners. So I'm going to make sure I have this down in. I'm going to make sure it's where I want it, top and bottom. And then I'm just going to actually leave it in there. Let me open my glue. I shouldn't have let it sit that long. Like I said, it dries fast. I'm just a line down there. Oh, and it slipped. That's okay. Thing I didn't push down yet. I'm still keeping it lifted. I know you can't see that, but I really am, so that it's... There we go. Didn't want it to grab that other side yet. And it didn't grab any of it. Oh, wow. Oh, good thing I didn't put a lot of glue. You know what? I may use score tape for this part. There are areas that's going to be I'm not sure if I'm going to use glue in some of them, but that's why I really am excited to try this out. Goodness. I'm just going to go with my good old score tape. It doesn't want to go in there, period, for me. You know what? Let me turn it over. One side is just a hair longer. Just having to re-score because I messed up there. Actually, I'm going to have to straighten out my page. All right, let me just cut this. It's off a little because of the way I put it in there. There we go. Sometimes it doesn't go smoothly. There. Now see, that should be completely sealed down, and that's how you turn that into a pocket instead of, you know, a mat. Now, one thing you can do, you could also take your circle punch and I'm going to use a really big one. The only thing is you do want to find your center. So this is one thing I didn't do in the other. Now I'm just going to put it in. Now with the EK Success, I love them. See that K? It's basically your center mark. So if you bring it right to there and pull straight back, you're going to stay pretty much centered, which is nice because then you're going to be able to cut your pattern paper as such. Then I just line things up. Sure. Even. There we go. Now I have my circle. And you could do it before you put this down. Now I will want to put a piece of pattern paper that's about 3 inches down to cover the back of that, and that's just fine. Do a refold here, and then I want to go ahead and cut my corners. I'm going to use the stub side. I'll put a magnet, but first I'm going to go ahead and put down the bands. Now, since I didn't put on the bottom, I just want to put it on here and make sure we're matching. where it's supposed to go. No, that's dry now. And I'm having to push up because I need to I turned the page over, so it's just a little different fit, which is fine. And now I will have a 4x6 mat underneath there. Now we can figure out where we want to have our magnets. And it looks like I'm going to be able to put it right there. See if these two guys will, yeah, work. Let's see, I'm going to have to put some score tape over the top. Always remember to take that off when you mat your pages. Now, not only will we have the pocket now, but you will have a stopper towards the back so that your mat doesn't fall out. And your hinges will be over here, so your 4x6 photo mat, when you put it in here, won't fall out. So there's the front of page 1. And now we'll do the back, page 2. So now we'll do the back of page 2. For the back, we want to cut a piece of cardstock that is 6 by 9. Then we will cut one that's 5.5 by 8. This, we have a flap that will open with a side pocket. So for our pocket piece, which is the 6 by 9, we're going to score it at 1/2 and 1/2. And then for our flap piece, on the 5.5 inch side, we're going to score it 1/2 of an inch. So let's go ahead. Now remember this 8-inch door, we're going to want to miter the corners, but I want to check my size first. Make sure I'm going the right direction. Okay, that looks great. I'm going to miter the corners. Now this will be the outside. It won't be the hinge side. And the pocket is going to go over on well, let me tell you, mine's going to be opposite of yours. Let's see. Oh, no, it's not. That's right. Sorry. I thought I put it on the wrong side, but I forgot. We closed that already on purpose. This is our open side. Sorry. I just do it so many times that I guess I've come to expect it. All right, let's score up those and miter these corners. again, I'll just put my adhesive down on the one side. And for this side, I'm going to first do the glue here at the bottom. Seal off the bottom. So we will now have a nice large pocket with a flap. And again, I'm going to go with our large magnet. I'm going to place it down on the pocket first because I don't want to get too close to the edge. It is going to put the magnet more towards the center here, but that's okay. And because I know we might have a little pull, I'm going to remove that top, put the score tape down first. Make sure everything's closed. Yep, nice and tight. And there you have your belly band with the large pocket. So you can see why you don't always have to have those pull-out mats on the side. And to be honest with you, sometimes when your album is quite bulky with other flaps, if you've noticed, it's hard to pull those tags out. And sometimes you can't really get pictures in there because they're so tight. So there's 2 pages. All right, let's do page 3. Okay, page 3 almost looks like it mirrors page 2, but it's not going to have, we're not going to have that inside pocket unless you would like that inside pocket. Then you can go ahead and add it exactly like you just did. Bone folder. You're going to cut, excuse me, it's getting later here and the yawning is starting to take over. Okay. 6 inches by 8 inches, and we're going to score 1/2, and then your next one will be 5 inches by 8 inches scored at 1/2. That's what I love about the 8.5 by 11 paper. I cut it off at the 8.5 side to 8, and then I just cut my 6 and 5 piece, and there was no waste, none whatsoever. Love it. So I'm just going to lay it here, make sure we match top and bottom. One thing, especially with Christmas, where we're looking at, because we do take children, grandchildren, they go to wherever you take them for your photographs. We used to go to Sears. So I have a lot of Sears photos I remember from Christmas. It's going to go really well with this Retro Christmas. We want a big photo mat area. And so the inside of this is going to be a great place for your 5 by 7s, especially. So we're just going to put down our mats, our flaps. Oh, let's miter those corners. And one thing I need to mention, I do try to stay above that score line, and that's what's going to make it so it doesn't look too short. Sometimes when you even mat it, you might see it underneath there and not like it. But if you stay above your score line, when cutting those corners, you'll be fine. one thing I hate about glue is when it seeps out, and that doesn't happen a lot with the art glue because of the fine tip, but it will happen, and I try to watch that. Okay, now just on the opposite side. Now you, this is where, I got it off a little. There's not hardly any playroom with this glue. There we go. You can use a magnet. Again, I did use a magnet in my, it's off, but I'm going to actually just trim that on my trimmer because I can do that on my huge trimmer. It'll drive me crazy. I didn't quite get it all the way. I think for this one, I'm not, making sure we're going the right. I'm not going to use magnets. I want to have a ribbon closure. So you can go ahead and put your magnet down like we usually do, but I'm going to grab, because you want to have this down before you put your pattern paper. I'm going to grab my goodness, I can't think tonight. My seam binding. I'm just going to cut it in two. I always make it longer than it needs to be. I usually put this on wrong, so when I go to put it down, yeah, I'm not going to come out this way. It'll come out here. No, it won't. Tell you, this is the perils of being ADD. Sometimes it takes me a while to figure things out, and so when we go to decorate, I will have it figured out, and I'm going to use this. I'm not going to use my magnets. We'll put that aside. We'll figure that one out. Now, we're going to turn it over, and for the back side, we're going to have a full-size flap from top to bottom, and then we're going to have a belly band underneath. It's a skinnier belly band with a few little pockets. So I'm going to cut my first page. I'm going to cut it 8 by 8. I do want it open just a little bit at the bottom. Okay, now we're going to score. Really doesn't matter which side. Excuse me. Miter my corners. I've had some comments that people don't like to use score tape because you have so many steps with taking off the the paper, but I'm finding I have just as many steps with glue, because if you don't clean that off each time, as you can see. So I guess each adhesive has its ups and downs. Make sure I have the right side here. Now, one thing that I won't be doing right now, the reason being, if I do it right now, I'm going to have trouble when putting down my pattern paper. When we make the pockets the way I've been making them, without the gussets on all three sides, you can't slide your paper down in. So after we slide our paper down in, so you have plenty of leftovers, you're going to want an 8-inch piece, and this, you'll have this leftover from cutting your pages, and I'll have to cut it down. So it's going to be 8 inches by the 2 inches after I mat my page, because I want it matted all the way. Then I'm going to put this down, but I'm going to use 1/8 of an inch score tape. We'll do that during decorating, and the glue, because it's going to go down here so that I can put some of the smaller cut aparts up there. Then down here, we're going to do the same thing again. So we're not going to put the pocket, the stopper piece in. We don't, you know, we want our paper down first. But we do need another, for our belly band, 9-inch piece. And I don't think, no, I'm going to have to cut one. I only want it to be actually 2 inches. It's a skinnier belly band. Sorry, I have to go clear over here to my cutter. And I want it to be 9 inches long. And you know what? I'm thinking I want it to only be 1.5 inch. In the other album, I did a skinny one, and I just thought it looked really cute for the inside. And the problem with my big professional cutter, it doesn't like to cut smaller. And I actually just cut it down to 1 1/4 by 9 inches. I'm going to keep this one also. I will be probably using that somewhere. So I can put my belly band down. I'm going to go ahead and score it 1/2 and 1/2. I know you can put it down also by wrapping it on your pattern paper. You can do it either way. It's going to be under the pattern paper regardless. And I'm excited to go back with the pattern paper and see how the glue has held. But I love it. There's absolutely been no wrinkling. No, it doesn't get hard. Now, when it's the belly band, if you want, you can go ahead and measure. I just use my scoreboard, and I basically put it at my 4 inches. And it's not exact. Okay. Now this also would be another cute one if you wanted to do a tie closure or your string wrap, but I'll just go ahead with my magnet. And so I don't have to open another pack. I'll just remove the adhesive. I probably did a waterfall. Sometimes I use 3 magnets instead of 4 if it's a huge one, and it cuts down on my magnet use. That's why I'm short. I another plus. So we will just fix that. There we go. Now you will need score tape. I've tried even glossy accents with no avail. It just didn't hold. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I know glossy accents works sometimes for my other metal embellishments, but I've had it come up with magnets. All right. So once again, I'm going to start on the flap because we don't want it too close to that edge. And there you go. So we have our trifold, and I may on this side put another little pocket inside. We have the trifold after I fix that at the bottom a little better. Then we'll have our belly band, and there's page 3. For page 4, you're going to want to cut your first piece at 4 1/4 by 6 3/4. Then we're going to have another one that's 8 by 7. Then we have an 8 by 8. This one does have quite a few pieces. And then we have a 4 by 8. This is another one of the pockets where we turn the page into a pocket, and then it has the trifold. So we're going to start with the 4 inch. That's our flat for our pocket. We're going to score it at 1/2 of an inch. Then with our 4 1/4 by 6 1/2, we're going, or 6 3/4, we're going to score 1/2 inch on this 6 3/4 inch side. And our 8 by 7, of course, you want to go down 1/2 inch on the 7 inch side, and then your 8 by 8, it won't matter. So this is going to be one that'll give you a lot of room. So with our flap, we're going to do it just like we did on the first one. What happens if I stay in camera? Sorry, that we turned into a pocket. So I'm going to use my score tape again on that one. Didn't do so well with the glue. I'm going to make sure I put it on the correct side. Wow, did I move my camera? Or I think I moved myself when I got to the cutter. I am so sorry. I put the score tape on that 1/2 inch, my score line. So now I'm going to put it down inside like we did before. I'm checking the top and bottom. Of course, I'm going to be cutting the corners again. So now while it's inside, where is my, oh, there it is. That thing hides down there. I'm going to just take off my score tape. Edge, maybe. There we go. Make sure everything's still down. So now it is attached to make that nice big pocket. Do my corners so we match the rest of the album. And our first one, I'm going to start with the 8 by 8 piece. Make sure we have no hanging over. Just doing my corners over the garbage can. Sorry. There. Probably got too much glue there. Now this is going on the hinge side, so the opposite of the flap. On the outside, and I'll show you, we don't want to put that down. I have to make sure I didn't just do something different. No, I didn't. Okay, now right there on that edge where we open for our pocket is where we're going to put down, oh, that was correct. Okay, we're going to put down our next one. I'm going to trim this just a hair. And I'm going to miter my corners. I'm just doing it over the garbage can. And remember, you need that to open, so you don't want to get any adhesive or score tape up over the edge. Now, you have a big area for picture layouts. And then you have a place, especially, you know, to put those special Christmas cards inside of. Now you're going to have that nice big pocket. And we're going to go ahead with our magnet. And I'm going to go ahead and remove this and put my score tape down. They are so strong, they like to pull. Then you have your pocket. Okay, we have our double, oh, whoops, I forgot. I have our 6 3/4. Okay, we're not going to put this down until you mat your page. Then that's going to sit, oh wait, no, you can put this down. And we're going to have to do some, let me put this down. We'll have to redo our magnets. I'm sorry, but that's okay. Again, I'm just going to eyeball my 4-inch, which also is this dark line. And we're going to have to, otherwise that won't stay shut. I'm going to do some magnet removal here, maybe. I'm debating. Let me put this back down. Let me remove this one. Put this right there. There we go. Now we don't have to use 3 magnets. So that's going to open this way, and that will come open. There we go. Completely forgot about that little guy. Okay, double pocket. You're going to cut 2 squares. One's going to be 8.5 by 8.5, and one will be 7.5 by 7.5. And then what you're going to do is you're going to put it in your cutter and just cut it in half from tip to tip. But we'll have our double pocket. We're going to start with our 8.5-inch piece. And you do want to put it in your scoreboard. Score it at 1/2 inch. I flip it over so I have it squared. And I score it the 1/2 inch. again. Now, again, I'm going to try out the glue. So I like to take this, and I'm scoring it way down, almost this 100% degree, 98% degree, so it basically matches. There we go. 100-degree angle. Then we're going to still take off our bottom here. Start here with my adhesive. Hold that down for a moment. I'm going to be brave. I'm going to do both sides here. So we're going to put our first corner down. Then line up our sides. Then our 7.5 by 7.5 will sit on top, and we'll do the same again. I'm going to miter that all the way down. Now you can mat and then put your pocket on top. I prefer to do them first. It is a little more of a pain, I realize, but it also makes it so these are hidden. This time, no, didn't get too close to that edge. A little glue there. You have to hold for just a second. I said this is a no-weight glue, so when you do all sides, you sort of have to work fast. I'm going to be off. There we go. I think I like doing the one side and then the one side when it comes to glue. Now see how that's not, I don't know if you can see, I have that little piece where if I don't cover it with pattern paper, you're going to see those edges, and that's why I like to put my pockets down first, then I know it's covered and it's hidden. Okay, so now we'll have our double pocket. And as you can see, as you're putting this together, lots and lots of room for photos, lots. Okay, let's go on to page 5. Page 4. No, page 5. We are moving right along. Okay, for page 5, you will want, your first cut will be 6 inches by 9 inches. That's a pocket. Then we will have a flap on this. That is 6 inches by 7 inches. Then we will have a pocket inside there that is 5 inches by 7 inches. So we're going to score our inside pocket at the half on each of the 7-inch sides. Now our flap, you want to turn it so it's along the 7-inch side and score down 1/2. Then on our 9-inch side, because we want a 1/2 inch on each side for the inside pocket. And this is also, let me see here. I'll show you with this one. So wait, first we're going to go ahead. I'm going to back up just a hair on this video. Okay. with our pocket. Now this is a side pocket. I'm making sure I'm okay here. Okay, it's a side pocket where we're going to be able to have a pocket inside here, I mean a tag. And I want to go ahead and do the mitering. I'm going to do that over the garbage. Goodness, I didn't look in the camera to make sure I was in frame. Sorry. All right, I'm going to start with the bottom. Glue. Clean it off this time. Okay, now this is going on the, not the hinge side, but the other open side, which we are going to be closing after we get everything on the hinges. I thought that might be off just a hair. I'm just going to have to do some manually folding up here a little bit. Much better. Okay, the video is going to be done in 2 parts also. We'll be doing the pages so that you can get started. You know, we'll get our pages done first. It depends on how long this is will determine if I do this in 2 parts. Then we'll make our cover, and then we'll go ahead with the decorating. So now, again, I want to close this. Just the pocket piece. Don't close your whole page yet because we want to be able to get it on the hinge easier. Like I was saying, it just depends on how long the video becomes, because I do mat my pages before I put them in the book. I don't decorate it, I just mat them. So I like a flat surface to work on. Okay, the piece that we scored now at the top, I'm just going ahead with my score marks here. And I'm making sure that that's going to fit okay. This is going to have the outside pocket with the flap on it. And then there will be a hidden pocket basically inside there. One thing, if you watch the walkthrough on the Night Before Christmas album, one thing I talk about is how my albums are so thick. And doing the pockets the way I've done now in here is going to help with that thickness. I do believe. Okay, so we've already scored our sides. I just want to make sure everything looks like it's going to fit. And I'm going to miter the top. Now, when I do my pattern paper here, I will not take the paper all the way down. Save it on paper. I'll probably bring it that far into the pocket because no one sees that far down unless people are looking in your pockets. I know I do a lot of turning of my pages. Sure it's down with those big corners. Takes away some of the bulkiness. Then you have a place here for we're going to have a nice big tag and a magnet. Okay, so you have your flap, and then you're going to have what looks almost like a hidden pocket. And then see, we will be closing this side, so again, you haven't really lost any space. Now for your back side of page 5, I cut a piece that's 8 by 5, and on the 5-inch side, we're going to score it 1/2 inch. One thing about this is to give you a big photo page, and this is going to fold down, and it will be our journaling spot. So we'll use more of a white paper, something solid for the journaling, and then it keeps the picture peeking out, but it keeps your journaling somewhat private. Put our adhesive on. And now, one thing we can do is we might be able to match up our magnet from the other side, and that's the convenience of using large magnets. It will be a little off-centered, but it will be just fine. And it's one of the odd ones that was left in that other package, so I'm going to go ahead and use it. Oh, wait a minute. I don't have to take the adhesive off. Whoops. Because we want it on the flat part. So this is how you can get some dual use out of your magnets. Like I said, it's a little off-centered, but it's not going to matter with the pattern paper. It holds your flap down, and you're only having to use one magnet, because now you're playing, I always call it playing off of this other magnet. So there's page 5, and I hope that you can see actually how quick and easy this part is. It's when we start the decorating. Now, like I said, I usually do only 5 pages, but we're going with 6. This is going to be a large, pretty good size album, because you're going to have, I'm not going to do 1/4 inch gussets. They're not big enough. And so we will be having a good size spine. You're going to have a really nice sized Christmas book. So let's get on to page 6. For the front of page 5, what we have is we've turned this into the pocket. So I've cut mine at 4 by 8. I'll score again at the 1/2 inch. So what this is going to be is it's just going to look like a wonderfully large pocket. And we're going to miter our corners, and then I'm going to go ahead and use my stud side of my corner chopper. And we're going to place that inside and check the fit first. Make sure it's what we like. Yep. Score tape. Don't know, I just like the score tape better for this. Oops. Now remember, when adhering it, you want to adhere it to the opposite side. So that's why it's on the back. Make sure it's in there where I want it. Okay. Oh, I should have put my picker away. There it is. It doesn't want to come out this way. There we go. Help it move over a little bit. And then our magnets. And again, you don't have to use your a magnet. You can use the different type closures or no closure, and use like a paper clip or clothespin at the top would be really cute with the stocking hanging off. So there's a lot of different things you can do. I've got to pull this down. Get some score tape there. Now for the back of page 6, you will want to cut 2 pieces that are 4 7/8 by 5. Now we're going to score on the wait a minute, maybe I told you wrong. I did tell you wrong. They're 5 7/8 by 5. I cut mine wrong. 5 7/8 by 5. And you will need 2 of those. I didn't allow for a 1/2 inch score mark. So 5 7/8 by 5. And then on the 5 7/8 inch side, we're going to score it 1/2. Turn it over and do 1/2 again. Now these type of pockets, we're going to go ahead and make them, but again, we're not going to put these ones down until we mount our page, because there is no way to mount it if we put these down first. And again, we'll score these 2 sides up. We'll do our adhesive along the bottom. And I had a funny feeling that I totally screwed this one up. Sorry. It was the first ones. Okay. Give me those 2 back. I was right the first time. Well, we can use those for mats. I'm sorry if you cut paper. Okay, it is 4 7/8. And you're going to score 1/2 and 1/2. Another one of those mess ups. I know. I'm sorry. Hey, I did pretty good. There wasn't a ton this time. You do have to admit. All right, that's much better. Because this is a double pocket on the front. And we'll be matting. We'll mat the page first with our pattern paper. And then these two little guys are going to go down here with that space in the middle. And we'll mat, then we'll put these down. We will miter the corners. And then we'll have two tags inside that look like shipping tags that are really cute. And they'll go inside. And actually, I do think I'm going to cut mine down. I want to cut mine down to 4.5. No, 4 3/4. Sorry. I'm cutting mine down to 4 3/4. That's better. I felt they were just too tall. So we'll mat the page, then we'll adhere these down on top of our pattern paper for our double pockets. And that is page 6. So I'm going to just set these little guys inside of here. And let's grab all of our pages and recap. So we've done really great, and they're not in order. Mine aren't. And you can go through and look. Now we want to, I like to put them in order. But, you know, I'll get them in order when we go to decorate them, because I've kind of lost my eyesight here. It's getting late here, but I was excited to get this done. So when I go to mat them, I'll have them all in alphabetical order. They'll be in the correct order. And then I will do the decorating with you, because I know that one doesn't go that way. No. We'll do the decorating. We'll mat the pages. And after I mat my pages is when I make my album. So we'll make the album together. And we'll do all that and get it matted. So there's our pages. And I'll be back when I get the paper. Should be tomorrow. But I know we're on video, so you won't even know. And we'll get our pages matted. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye. I apologize. I know it looks so bright. This paper is bright, the red. And what I'm going to do is do our hinges now. And I decided to do this in 2 parts. We'll get the book and the cover done. That's this video that you're probably watching by now. And then the decorating will come after, because I wasn't able to pick the paper up Saturday that I wanted to use from Authentique. It's there, it's ready, it's waiting, but the stickers got in too late. So I'm going to pick it up Tuesday, and I'll do part 2, which is decorating. I want to tell you a couple of things on the hinges. What I'm going to show you is for 5 pages. And the reason being, I decided to go with 5 pages. Even though we made 6, I'm still going to use that page, and I'll show you what I'm going to do. In order to do these measurements the way I wanted for my album, because I'm making my hinges actually bigger now, they just are doing so much better with these larger pages. I don't want to add on to my cardstock. I can, but then there's going to be a seam there. I've decided to go with 5 pages. I'm going to refer you to my video, the links down here in the box, that shows how to make hinges for any size album. So if you want to go ahead and do that, it has a 3/8 of an inch gusset. What I've done here is my hinges are not, now they're 5/8 instead of just 1/2. 1/2 is 4/8. And then my gusset's going to be half. I just did my last tutorial, the school album that was done by Brenda Crouch, and I tried to recreate it. It was a booger to recreate, but these just did so much better with the bigger pages. So on my album, my back cover, Remember, we made for page 5. We made the pocket with the back side is going to have pockets here. I'm going to adhere this down. Let me move my hinges. I'll adhere this down to the back of the album on the inside. I'm actually going to turn it. So I'm still going to have a pocket. And I'm going to take the 2 smaller pockets that we made, and they're going to go down on the front. So I've combined basically the back and front together because I'll be putting this down on the cover. Now, you can also, we could do a hinge where I can lift this up. So it's very possible I still may go that route when we get to that point. We'll find out because it doesn't go until we do the inside cover. So I'm not going to include it on my hinges. So for your hinges, I cut my paper 1/8 of an inch shorter than the width of the pages. So our pages are 8 inches. So I've cut my paper at 12 by 7 7/8. And I have to kind of walk you through the measurements because we're using 5/8 and 1/2 inch. So it's not hard. Just, I'm going to show you, just use your counting method. I'm going to try and get my down here. I know it's hard to see those numbers, but I like to start at 1 1/4. I like to start with a 1/4 inch and end with a 1/4 inch. I don't have anything going underneath my pages where the hinge is because I don't like them to get ripped. 1 1/4, then you're going to score again at 1/2. Then you're 1/2. Now another 1/2 inch would be 2, but we're going to use 5/8. So we're going to just move over 1 more, score it there. So you can either just go to your 1/2 inch mark, move 1 over, or count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now we're going to go 5 more, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which brings us to 3/4 of an inch. So that is one hinge because they will be brought together. Then we want a 1/2 inch gusset. So from 2 3/4 we go to 3 1/4. Then we want to count over 5/8 again. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Puts you at 3 7/8. Then we count over 5 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Puts you at 4 1/2. There's our hinges. Now we need a 1/2 inch space. That one's easy. We score at 5. Now we want 5/8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5/8 is between your 1/2 inch and your 3/4 of an inch. And we want 5/8 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which brings us to 6 1/4. So now we're at our 1/2 inch gusset. 6 1/4 to 6 3/4 is our 1/2 inch gusset. Now we want our hinges, so we're back at our 5/8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 between your 1/4 and your 1/2 inch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 brings us to 8. Another set of hinges. And so from 8 to 8 1/2 gives us our 1/2 inch gusset. So I only want 5 hinges, so I'm going to count 5 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Puts us between the 9 and 9 1/4, so it's 9 1/8. And 5/8 then would put me at 9 3/4. And I need to end with a 1/4 inch, so I'll score at 10. So there are my 5 hinges. One reason I make my hinges before I start cutting my chipboard for my cover is because I never know how big to make the spine of my book until I've made my hinges. Sometimes I'm going to go 5/8 of an inch if I'm using pages that have a lot more flaps, pockets, and I know it's going to be heavy. And then a 1/2 inch gusset I'll use. Or in my video I'm going to use a 3/8 of an inch gusset and 1/2 inch, and that's fine. You can still use that. This is just my personal preference because I'm going to use probably a lot of flowers. So now we just want to start folding up. All of our score lines, starting with your 1/4 inch. I always start with these because they are a little more difficult, being that they're so close together. Okay, we've got our 1/4 inch. Now we'll just start by bringing our hinges together. In my case, it's the 5/8 inch. I just have to straighten that up here. Now I grab my hinges, and it should already be scored right here, so it'll bend backwards just fine. Now you're going to bend it forward towards your 1/2 inch gusset. So I'm just going to grab my next set of hinges, and I'll do the same thing. I push down. I'm using my fingernail to sort of push in where I want that hinge to go. There's hinge number 2. I'm going to grab my 3rd set of hinges, and I'm using the Cartabella cardstock. Well, that's all I use, and so it needs to be worked a little bit more because it is a nice heavy cardstock. Push those hinges together. There's hinge number 4. You'll see now how it's starting to come together. And for me, here's hinge number 5. Now, if you went ahead and did the smaller gussets, smaller hinge size, which is fine, your book is still going to hold. I hope I haven't scared you off there. It is still going to hold. And the only reason I always make the 5, only reason I made the 6 is so that I could show you in the video exactly every page that I had done in the smaller book. So there's our hinges. So now I need to turn it over and get the score tape. Okay, let me turn mine over, and I'm using the 3/8 inch score tape, and I will want my 1/4 inch. I use that on those 1/4 inch score lines. And I'm going to go in the middle. Oh, you know what? Let me grab something different. I just forgot for a moment. I made bigger hinges. Okay, you might be using 3/8. I'm going to use my 1/2 inch because I went 5/8. And you'll see it fits beautifully in between there. Now, when using score tape, I don't worry anymore about getting it over the edges because you're going to clean it up, and that way you can square it off better. Because I know you'll have that jaggedy end from tearing it. Now you just want to put it in between each one like that. You can see as it comes together, you'll now have your 1/2 inch up here, and that's where I'm going to use my 3/8 inch score tape. And it's going to fit nicely 3/8 inch in that 4/8 inch, which is 1/2 inch space. And then my 1/4 inch on the 1/4 inch score that I started, that I ended with. So I'm knocking all my glues over. Okay, go ahead and I'm going to turn this over, and now I can square up my score tape edges. Anything that's hanging over. You want to get close, but I don't want to cut my cardstock because I can push the other excess still over. Clean your scissors often. And there you have beginning of our hinges. Okay, we'll flip back over. Now, excuse me, we're going to take off the score tape that is in between the hinges, but I'm not going to take any of the other tape off, or your fingers will be stuck if you're using score tape, or if you're using a wet adhesive, you're going to get stuck all over. So now I'm just going to continue to fold them back, and because we've pre-folded, they should lay really nice. See, I need to just have one that's off a little bit, so I'm just going to pull on these hinges, because you might be going along sometimes and you're going to notice your hinges start to narrow, and that's just because it's probably on the fold somewhere. So I pull my two ends apart, and then I just push down, and it should straighten it out just fine. I don't know if you've ever noticed that you've gotten your hinges done and all of a sudden it goes in, and it's probably just the way it creased. Okay, now we can turn this over. Now we can go ahead and remove. I push mine back down. I remove the back of the score tape. And I'm just going to use some more score tape. Okay, make sure nothing's sticking out. We're going to push this now. Now make sure you're pushing back against that 1/4 inch so that you still have that lip for your page to sit on. And I will do the same again for the small piece here. Now this is where I usually get a little nervous. I'll get some emails or messages. You didn't use Tyvek, and I've explained that before. I don't use Tyvek. One of my earlier videos in the very beginning, I show how I tore my hinge. Yes, it does strengthen the hinge a little bit, but I tore the hinge, and that Tyvek's not strong enough still to hold your page on. So I wasn't able to repair my page, and that's when it hit me that I'm not going to do that extra step. But if it makes you comfortable, yes, do it, because that's what you're used to. I'm not going to say don't, or just like I'm not comfortable using it anymore because I got tired of paying for it. And I know you can use your used postal service ones, but it just was like one headache gone. And I sell a lot of my albums, so I've never had one tear or come back. Now we can go ahead and you can use your score tape. If you're going to use score tape, which I am, and I'm using, ooh, the backing came off and left the tape on. I'm using 3/8 of an inch. Got a little issue here. There we go. And I'm not going to use 1/4 of an inch like I normally would, because I have more room now. Let me straighten that up. And because I have more of an area to cover, I'm going to use my 3/8. And most of you know I am on a group called Mini Album Swap Some More. And there was a tip, and I'm going to have to look up her name because I'm going to try this tip. She used the art glitter glue. She uses a fine line on top of her score tape when putting her pages onto her hinges. And I'm just having trouble with my score tape today. Sorry, hold on. I lost my whole roll onto the floor, and it's hanging underneath my chair. Okay, so she uses the art glitter glue before she puts her pages down on each hinge, and it helps it slide on. So she's able to slide her page down. And so we're going to try that. Oops. Since we are experimenting on this album with the new art glitter glue. Well, the art glitter glue is not new, but I brought it into the store because I'm absolutely in love with how it's working. And of course, you don't see it, but there's been a time lapse of a couple of days since I did the pages. And you may already have seen it. I just put mine aside, and you'll notice how well it's still holding together. Love the art glitter glue. I finally feel like I found a glue that I can use and trust. This new roll of score tape is wanting to just go crazy. There we go. And of course, it wants to pick up everything from the ribbons and laces I've used, the fuzzies from cutting them. Clean up that edge. So the next step, it's not going to matter if you just made your hinges like I did, or you made them smaller. This is the point where you're going to measure whatever you made, and mine are 2.5. So I'm going to cut my chipboard. Here we go. Big enough to accommodate my hinge. So it's going to need to be about 2 3/4. Let me show you. This is a piece of chipboard that's exactly 2.5, and as you can see, it just would not be big enough. Looks like I've got a little bit of that narrowing of the hinges. Pull that out. I told you how it kind of went in. So make sure that you measure both ends of your hinges so that you have the proper, there we go, width. So actually on this one where it's 2 3/4, so I'm going to have a 3-inch spine with 5 hinges. So had we gone with this, adding on more paper and making 6 hinges, see, this would have been like a 4-inch hinge book, too big for me. So I'm going to go cut my chipboard at 3 3/4 by 8 1/2, and then you're going to need to cut 2 more pieces at 8 1/2 by 8 1/2. And then when I cut the rest of it, I'll come back with the measurements. I just need to cut a few more pieces, and we'll get our cover put together. I have my camera at a different angle in hopes that I can bring this all out to show you. I've moved things to accommodate better filming, but I'm seeing I have a lot of shadows, and I really am sorry. Couple of things. I went ahead and cut 3 pieces of 12 by 12 cardstock at 10 1/2 by 12. The reason being is I want 1 inch at the top, I want 1 inch at the bottom of my chipboard. Yeah, there's a lot of shadows. Then I'm going to use 1/4 inch score tape possibly, so I keep that handy. The art glitter glue, I'll show you why. And then I like the sheets. So I've already gone ahead and cut my 8 1/2 by 11 inch sheet. Here's a full sheet. And I cut it down to 8 1/2 by 8 1/2. Well, I cut off 1/8 of an inch, so it'd be shorter. And then you'll have some pieces left. We will be using these on our smaller pieces. And we're going to, we have the 2 8 1/2 by 8 1/2 pieces. Then I have a 3 1/2 by 8 1/2 inch piece that is going to be the fold over. And then you just want to check and make sure everything is the right height. Then I've cut my hinge pieces. Let me double check. Mine are 3 by 8 1/2. And it looks like we are good. So I'm going to start by putting these 2 pieces together. And my computer's behind me, so the camera's now in front of me, and I have to watch that I don't go out of camera. So I'm going to put the score tape on the edge. Just flip this over because we want them to hang over each other so that we have a nice, tight seam there. Remove the backing. The feed on my other cutter always leaves marks. I'm going to adhere the 2 together. And I'll be honest, I've never tried this with the glue. I'm not sure if I would. It's just, it's doing great, the glue is, but I'm just worried about if it's pliable enough. And then turning it over, because now we have to have the 3rd piece. When you're doing a fold over album like this, you have to have the 3 pieces. Yes, I just goofed. I was going to have that on top. Let me look. It'll be fine. All right, we're going to put our 3rd piece together. Just making sure it's matched top to bottom. Then our glue, or our score tape, overlaps. What I like to do first is I like to lay out my chipboard pieces. And I'll still have to move it because the camera is just not going to take this full length. So what I have is that middle piece, basically. And we know that we have to have 2 spine pieces. because we're going to have the fold over here. So that means we need to have a front cover and a back cover. Now, one thing I just like to go through and place things, making sure if I can get this to the end for you, making sure on each end that you have at least 1 inch. So this is where you'll want a ruler. And I like my big quilting ruler. I use it a lot. Well, actually all the time when doing my covers. So I'm just going to basically put it there. And then I'm going to take a pencil and just make a mark. So I know that that's where I want my cover to hit. But it may not be. We need to check and see, because we really want to keep our hinge pieces in the middle. I like to keep them in the middle of these seams, and so that may not work, but I will know now that I just need to cut. I'm going to have to cut a little bit off, and that's not going to show your mark. So again, we're going to lay this out. That is the second hinge piece, which we have to have because we have the fold over piece. And then on this end, you're going to have this big piece left, but you're going to use it for the inside when you cover it. So we're going to get started, and I'm going to put because I'm using score tape, I'm going to lift my paper up so we can get clear to the end here. So I'm going to take I've got my camera stand and I'm trying to get it so it'll be in camera for you to see what I'm doing. So I'm going to take the backing off, and you're going to, once you start using these sheets, they're amazing. And you save your roll. And I did get it on crooked, but that's okay. You can still bend it over and tear it just like regular score tape. And my next big piece. And with the holidays coming, especially if you're making a lot of projects, this just cuts down the time. Now you should have 2 pieces left over, and you might have to cut the one down, or you're going to use it on maybe your fold over piece. See how nice that fits? And it's going to fit here. And notice it's just a hair too long. So I'm just going to take my scissors. Just cut that off. So now you have a choice. You can go ahead and use regular score tape on your fold over or your wet adhesive, or you can cut into another one, which I'm not going to. I'm going to use that for the inside. And I think I have a few pieces from other projects left, so I'm just going to kind of patchwork these bigger pieces on. And that's the beauty of having the leftovers from your bigger pieces. Let me show you. This is what I end up with when using this for other projects. So I can just piece them on here now, and you can tear it just like regular score tape. And then I'll just stick that back on. I'll use it for something else. So these are never ever wasted. And I can just take my 1/2 inch. And that one's all ready. So we're good to go. Now you will need your 1/4 inch score tape because that's what I use for my spacers. Okay, we're going to start with the middle. with our first hinge. And I'm putting my ruler down because I want an inch at the top and an inch at the bottom. And you can just go ahead and mark it or eyeball it. But with this I know I also have a guide to lay it down, and I use my arms. So now all I have to do is remove one piece of backing here. Check my ruler. Center this. And then score tape on each side. This is what is going to keep your hinges from breaking, or your, the paper on your hinges. When you bend your album, you won't have any cracking or breaking. Well, that's also, it is going to depend on your paper. And I've tried and tried every type of designer cardstock that there is, pattern paper, and I still cannot get a pattern paper that won't crack. That is why I don't use the pattern paper to cover my albums with. Now, you have a couple of choices here. You can leave your backing paper on for a guide, or you can take it off now. But before we wrap our album, we do want to take it off. For the video, I'm going to leave it on so that you have a visual guide to go by. So we want to put the cover piece right up to that. Keeping our inch at the bottom. Then I'm going to scoot down. Now a lot of times I won't put this on straight, and that's why I take it off, because I can now lay it over it if I need to. Once you lay your chipboard over it, it's kind of hard to get the paper up. So once again, I'm using my arms on my inch. But it's nice because all I have to do is worry about this corner. Then I put it down now. See, I'm going to be off a little bit because I was talking, but not a lot. It's okay because I put my tape off. I was off there. So I'm going to be taking this off now as I put the rest of the pieces down. But do make sure, if you don't, remove your backing. But again, you have to make sure it's perfectly lined up with your chipboard if you're not going to take it off. And I can show you why. I'm using the bottom of my ruler also to keep things straight. And by overlapping on it, I can keep it straight. So I'm going to remove this. Remove the backing. And I know I'm off a little bit. So I'm going to bring my ruler at this end down to where I know it's supposed to be. And that's not going to work. This one, oh, let's hope I can get it up. Keep my fingers crossed. I did it. Oh. As you can see, this is one reason I use Cartabella paper. I love it. It's forgiving for a moment. I wouldn't be able to ever do that again. Now I'm going to have to go ahead, because some of my chipboard came up, and use some glue here. And I'd rather have the chipboard come up than my page. Or my paper. Okay. I'm going to pay attention this time. Okay, I am going to hold this down here, but I'm just having to eyeball it now from top to bottom of my chipboard. To make sure it's going to go at an angle. Mine is, but it's okay. Okay, now this is our fold over piece. I got some glue on there. I just have a few patchwork pieces to remove. Because I did get this one cover piece off whack by talking and not paying attention. Again, I'm just going to have to somewhat eyeball it, but keeping it even with this and not so much my ruler. It put me off just a hair. Okay. Now, because I was able to get my camera over here on the other side, let me bring my huge cutter into play. See, it's very, very huge. But I love it. It's so worth it. It cuts right through your chipboard. You never have to worry about getting a new blade. Okay, and I'm going to cut the end of this off at about 1 inch or less. And then I'm going to do the same here. I'm going to ignore my marking. But you're going to hang on to this piece because you will be using it. Okay. Now, one thing we're going to do is take our bone fold. Well, it depends on your paper. With Cartabella, I'm going to take my bone folder on those creases. And I'm going to somewhat soften them. So that I can get a better turn. Okay. And you know your paper that you're working with. So I'm going to now go all across as if I was doing a score. There we go. Now I'm going to bring up my paper and chipboard. So some of this you may not see, but I'm just pushing my paper back, or the chipboard against the paper there. And I did get mine off, so I'm going to have to watch that I pull that over that chipboard so that I have a problem right there, just to make sure I don't have a pocket. Okay, this is the trick, and I used it in the last album, is where I'm going to take, stop, back up. We're going to take score tape first. And I'm going to use 1/2 inch score tape. I'm going all around the perimeter. And I'm going to use my 1/4 inch score tape along now on the chipboard. What this is going to do is it's going to help catch this spot in between your score tape and chipboard so that it grabs, it'll be held down on the chipboard, that bare spot. And then to help with the turning of our paper, we're going to help soften those fibers with the art glitter glue. And like I mentioned, this is what I talked about in my other video that I did, the school album made by Brenda Crouch, where Terry, former design team member, she used it, and I love it. Now, first of all, we're going to cut off our corners. You're going to make sure you're leaving at least 1/8 of an inch I'm leaving just a hair more. You can measure, there's all kinds of tricks. I just eyeball it and cut off my corners. Now, I'm just anxious to use that glue, aren't I? I forget. We're going to remove every piece of score tape from the paper, from the chipboard. Garbage. There we go. Now I can use our glue. So I'm going to start just along this edge of chipboard. And I was so pleased with how it worked on the other album. I said it just kind of softened that fiber, it grabbed it, and it made it so smooth and nice, the paper along the chipboard. Okay. And I'm just going to bend it up against the chipboard to make sure we have a good fit. I'm just going to pull it over. I'm going to tear it down. And then just like I have a few wrinkles here and there, there's no problem. So that's going to get caught inside of the score tape area. Just work that one out. Okay. I'm going to turn it over. And we're going to do the long side again. And I have to pay attention. This is the long side where I boo-booed. I had to soak my tip in warm water last night and it really works great. So if it does get a little clogged, just soak it in warm water. Okay. So I'm going to do some more pulling. Like I said, I know I have that area where I got a little off. So I've got to make sure I pull it over that chipboard. And that's where it is. That's why I'm getting a buckle. And I'm going to work that out so it's flat. And now we're going to do our ends. I am going to go ahead and put my bead of glue here. Now I'm going to push in. There's a lot of different ways you can do this. I usually lift up and go from behind, but I know you can't really see on the camera. So I'm pushing in that corner. I want it to be over the chipboard. And I'm just flattening down. That piece right there that wants to fold. There we go. And I have just a little bit that's going to stick over here, so I'm going to get my smaller Etsy cut scissors. I'm just going to cut him at an angle. And our glue. This isn't a necessary step. This is just a step that like I said, I watched Terry's tutorial and I picked up some really awesome tips. She's a fantastic crafter and I am loving this tip. And I'll show you why in a minute. If you've made quite a few albums, you too might even notice the difference when we turn this up. Now I'm going to turn it up. I'm hoping you can see. So before, I would have some bubbly, it looked very uneven. And with using this glue, it just hugged that cardstock right over that edge. I hope you know what I'm talking about. It would just look jagged sometimes. And I'll tell you what, I have not had, in the 3 albums I've used this on, any of that jaggedy look. And I just love it. I think it does soften the fibers, and then it just lays beautifully on top of that cardstock. So now we want to go ahead with our creases here. And got some glue there, but oh, there we go. You should be able to fold it completely over. And that's the beauty of using your 1/4 inch score tape in these spots here. Now, just very lightly shape that there. Make sure it's grabbed by the score tape. Now it's going to feel a little bit flimsy until we get our sides on. And I like to put my magnets on under the pattern paper, so it's totally up to you. One thing with Cartabella, it's thicker, and then I'm going to use a pattern cardstock, the Retro Christmas, and it's also going to be in a pattern. It's not pattern, of course it's pattern, but it's a texture. So it's going to be a thicker paper, and I want as much hold as possible. So we're going to start now. We're going to need some more cardstock. And now I should be able to use my 8.5 by 8.5. I won't have to use my 12 by 12 pieces. Isn't this wonderful? You can get the colors in both sizes now. I will have to probably use a few more sheets. And let's do this. Let's start down here with your fold over. And the reason being, you're going to have a seam that's going to hit, and it's going to be pretty much hidden. And then, oh, this may not be big enough. It's not. But it'll be great for, we'll be able to use it for mats. So we're going to start with these 2 pieces. Our cover's 8.5 by 8.5. So I want my piece to be just 1/8 of an inch shorter. Make sure everything's even. Oops, find my markings. That's for a perfect cut. And it's already there, so I know where I need to cut. I'm going to cut my 3rd piece. I'm just going to cut the width. See that? No waste with these 8.5 by 8.5 inch sheets. Again, this is the fold over, and I want to start there so that I have a nice seamless front, and I want to check top to bottom. And I'm going to have a little bit of a challenge because I am off right there, as you remember. So I'll have a little bit of a challenge. And I'm just going to need to cut this down. Again, I prefer to use these sheets. Yes, I know they're like they're $1.85 each, but I'm not using my roll of score tape. And I'm not Okay, I lost my train of thought. Yeah, I'm not using this roll of score tape, and I'm saving my wrist and my arms because of the amount of albums I make. If I was probably just doing 1 or 2 albums now and then, I would still use it actually. It just is quicker. I know everything's secure. It's a solid cover. And then I can save my roll of score tape for other things. Okay. And now I know this whole piece of paper is going to be down. There's not going to be any bubbles. And like I said, I have to change the angle of mine. This is going to be a little bit of a challenge because I got my board off. You don't want to do any folding of your hinges just yet. Get my second piece of tape cut. And then all the pieces I cut off, I do save. And really, when making videos, this is quicker. So you don't have to sit and wait while I'm putting score tape on, or I turn off the camera, or because I haven't learned that speed up feature. Before I take it off, I'm going to check mine. You want to overlap it. And I'd say 1/4, because this is the solid, this is going to be the front cover. And you're going to have pattern paper down. Of course. Okay. You're going to want to, well, darn it. Sorry. I have that 1 piece of dog hair on this side. 1/4 inch. Still gonna have to go at that funny angle. I don't want any overhang. And we're going to put it down. Got it. A little off, but we'll cover that with pattern paper. So you might be able to see how mine is off due to my little boo-boo. For my last piece, what I do is I just lay it over. Let's go from this end. Then I'm going to put it where I want it to end, pull it up, and look and see. It looks like I'm going to do about almost a 1/2 inch. I'm going to overlap. Then I'm going to cut that off. I'm just going to lay this down here. Mark where I want to cut that off. And then I'll have this nice big piece for next time for whatever other project. See, and then you'll get a lot of slivers like this. And you'll hang on to those because you will use them. And I'll just set that little guy aside. I thought I might have gotten just a hair off. So what I'm going to do is that little piece I cut off, because I do want it a little closer to the edge. I'll use this one. I'm going to put it closer to my edge. And still, you want to make sure nothing's sticking over. Again, I have to get those special area where it's going off. Okay. We're going to start with our hinges. I'm going to start down here. You should be able to see them if I get in camera right here. There's a little divot. And you're going to notice now your cover is quite a bit stronger. Okay. And you don't want to push hard, but you want to help it get into that groove so that it can grab the score tape. Now you're not going to bend it over like you did before, so don't try. It will break. Okay. Again, you're going to start seeing it take a little better shape. And we have our hinged area right here. Mount that over. Take your time with it. Don't force it. Okay, now you can see how much more sturdy your album is. Some glue. Now we want to put down magnets. Now there's a couple of different things. If you don't have magnets, and you can still use this cover, what I do is on this back side here, I put it in on top. Then I look to see where it's going to hit, and you can actually tie ribbon around there. I did that in one of my albums, one of the cookbook albums, and because I'd forgotten the magnets. So don't let that stop you from using your fold over. And I did the wedding album where I show how I poked the holes because we were in between and out of magnets, and I brought the ribbon through and tied it. So you can go back and look at the wedding album for that. And now I'm going to get my large magnets. And I'm going to need another package because I like to use 3. And they're going to go down here. Let's get these all out. And I know I mentioned this many a times, I'm just grateful to Greg at Basic Gray that he was still willing to manufacture magnets and sell them to us. Because I've tried others and they're not the same. They're just not. Okay. So it doesn't matter which side goes down, whether it's your positive or your negative first. What I do is I just I put them together, take the back cover off, and you just want to make sure you're leaving room for your pattern paper. And I start at the top. I just eyeball the lining up. After you do this a couple hundred times, you'll be just fine lining up, trust me. Okay, the next step, I remove this top cover because we're going to put score tape down. If we don't, they are going to grab each other and pull off of your cardstock. And it doesn't matter. I've got some of this left from when we cut when I was cutting my pieces. So I'm just going to use this. I'm going to put that over the top. And an angle, I don't want it to show. And then see, I can just reuse this. I mean, I've got enough to keep using. Okay, bring your cover over, and I put the edge of the cover into this crease. Pretty much is what I'm doing, is just lining up the top and bottom so it's straight. And then I'm just going to adhere those down. And don't try to pull straight up. You might lose a magnet or two, but it will go back down. I like to just slide it off the first time. And then we're going to use some more score tape. Just go over the top. There you go. Now you should have a nice firm, what looks like a box. Fantastic album that you just made. Now we have our hinges. Now one thing you want to make sure of, and you know, I have actually put hinges up here at this top piece. Pages went this way, but it was a different type of album. So if you put them up there, you're not going to be happy. Make sure you're putting them down here in between the back cover and the front cover. Okay, and now this is also decision time. Do you want pattern paper here? You might want to put down some pattern paper. I'm not, I just want it to match. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to put adhesive on the back. And for this, I don't want to cut any more of my sheets. And it's a smaller area, so I'm going to just use my 1/2 inch. And I am going to use glitter glue in between. See, I got off center. I always do. Today's my off center day. Make sure nothing's sticking out. So I'm going to remove the backing. Oh, before I do that, let me tell you. So if you know how to go ahead and poke a hole, maybe you want chains or charms hanging over, you're going to want to do that now, or you're going to set your hinge down. Otherwise, you just want to somewhat center your hinge, and for some reason, you know how it is, we get the adhesive on, and we get a little nervous. So if that's the case, just make a little mark where you know your hinge needs to sit. Move this backing, and this is where I'm going to get the glitter glue and try. As you know, sometimes two adhesives can give a better hold. And just center it. And so far, I'm very excited with the hold of the glitter glue. So you can use your hands. One thing I like to use is my old Cricut tool. Or you can use, I like these pens. Not that one. With the rounded ends. There we go. So they have this rounded end on them. They work really well, and I don't have to worry about going through my hinge. And now the next step, I do get a lot of questions. Do I like to put my page hinges on first, or do I like to decorate? I mean, my pages on my hinges. I like to decorate, not decorate. I like to mat them first. I'm getting camera. I like to mat them first. I like a flat surface to work on when I'm matting because I don't get things on straight. Now, when you open this, now I've got two covers. Now, in the video, I'm going to do this front cover like I did the original album. In the back here is where I'm going to put this little pocket page. And then the two little, and it will just be, it might be adhered down, or we can put a hinge to where it flips. I haven't decided, and like I said, when we get to that point, I'll let you know. But if you ever do make 6 pages and you're thinking, gosh, I don't want 6, I just want the 5 hinges, then just use your page. We will have to seal this bottom shut, but that's no big deal. So there is your album. I'll just put everything in there together till I'm ready to decorate. So this goes on, this is the album I did last year. Or not last year, it was the year before. Wow, time flies. And it was The Night Before Christmas by Graphic 45. And this is the album, only larger, bigger and better. And I hope you enjoyed the video. And I'll be back with the matting of the pages. And we'll do that all together. And then we'll get it put on the hinges. And you're going to have your Christmas album. And it's not even Christmas. So this is a good feeling for me. And I've got one project done, one gift for my mother, and it's great. I'm usually waiting the last for her. Hope you enjoyed the video, and let me know. I'm on Facebook at Scrapbookers of Country Craft Creations, and I also have the store, Country Craft Creations in Hooper, on Facebook. You can get a hold of me both ways, which is usually easier than email. It's a lot quicker. So give me a buzz if you need any help, and I enjoyed doing this album with you. Bye-bye.